What's up everyone, this is Derek Pearson from Equinox Project Studio, and I'm here today with my first ever mixing tutorial. I think I've got some fun stuff for you guys today. I've been working with a lot of different metal subgenre tracks recently, and I kind of wanted to share some of my techniques that I have been implementing when mixing bass guitar, whether it be DI or a recorded bass, a mic put in front of an amp and cabinet. It really applies to either situation. So I'll go ahead and play the process track back in context with the guitars and the drums so you can hear, and just FYI, this was a DI bass. It wasn't blended with a recorded bass, so here's kind of the sound it ended up getting. So, I ended up with a pretty aggressive sounding bass with a lot of percussiveness, and it's also kind of grindy. There's definitely some gain on there, which is something I wanted. First of all, getting a good bass sound for this genre, like any genre, really starts with getting a good raw recording. For this track, I ended up using a Fender Jaguar with a single coil pickup into an ART MPA-2 Preamp, which was subsequently followed by an ART Pro VLA Compressor. There was a little bit of tracking compression applied. I believe it's at about a 3-to-1 ratio to kind of tame some of the peaks, because it was a really dynamic performance, and I didn't want to clip the converters, and I wanted to make sure everything was going in pretty solid. As you can see, the waveform's not super dynamic how it went in. And I put a high-pass filter at about 45 hertz going in as well. So I'll kind of just solo the sound too again. So that's how it sounds soloed. Has a really nice kind of warm sound to it. I like that as well. So we'll go ahead and start with the processing and show you guys how I approach this. I always tend to start with the amp simulator when I'm working with a DI track, and in this case I used the Waves Guitar 3 Super Tube preamp model with a bass 8x10 cabinet. I didn't use an impulse on this particular track here. I found this worked just fine for me. I haven't been super stoked on the Guitar 3 stuff, but this worked fine for the application. It's much better on bass than it is guitar. So I have a little bit of drive dialed in there, and there was some minor EQ made there. I pulled a little bit of the mids out, boosted a little treble, and a bit of the bass as well. And so with just the amp sim, here's what we've got. Solo that, sorry. So nothing spectacular, but what I've been doing is I've been boosting the lead with an Ibanez Tube Screamer emulation, like this overdrive pedal, which is also from the Guitar 3 suite, as you can see. And here's how it sounds after that's been added to the mix. I found that keeping everything at 12 o'clock worked pretty well here. You can see that the tone makes it a little darker when you go counterclockwise. You go further clockwise and it starts getting a little too bright and a little bit hissy for me. So right in the middle at 12 o'clock worked fine. And now we kind of talk about EQ. What you should always really be doing for the bass guitar, and for most instruments really, is start by cutting. Pull out frequencies before you boost to keep it sounding natural. And especially if you're putting an EQ before a compressor, I definitely don't advise boosting any frequencies if you want that compressor to behave, uniformly and really react naturally to the track. So I'll kind of just, I'll wipe everything clean here, and we'll just kind of go through the EQ here together. So let's let it just kind of loop through and go for it. So I'm going to put another high pass of 47 hertz, even though I tracked with one. It's always safe. And I'm also going to put a low pass. So let's kind of listen and see where we lose usable information when I put on the low pass. I really don't notice anything really past 5.6. I feel like I lose a little bit of usable information when I go to 3.9. So let's go to 5.6. And about the EQ, this is just a parametric EQ from the Waves Gold Bundle. And I advise you guys use parametric EQs when you can, just for the simple fact that it kind of helps you associate a sound to a number. You don't have the visual aspect of it like you do in a graphic equalizer. So this kind of forces you to learn what different frequencies sound like. So use a parametric if you have it. There's a lot of good cheaper ones out there. I don't know if, I can't remember if Pro Tools came with one or not. I think it just had a parametric, but, or excuse me, a graphic, but definitely try parametric if you guys can. You tend to find a lot of boxiness, generally between 300 to 500 hertz in the DI bass. It can be up a lot higher, but right here, I'm finding it to be in that area there, and you can see that that does quite a bit for it too. Just by pulling out that notch there. And that's making it sound a lot more real and taking out kind of some of that that nasty mid-range that I didn't need in there. So I think that's fine for now. I'm not going to really get into too much of the high end here because I think that's going to be taken care of later down the road with some other plugins I'm going to show you. So we can put on our first level of compression in the DAW here. And again, I'll go ahead and wipe this clean and show you guys what I've been doing when I do the bass here. I will usually start with a low ratio and see if I can correct any problems with that. This bass isn't super problematic since I tracked it with some compression on there, so I'm just going to use this to catch any extra peaks, which means I don't need to level off anything too much, which means I'm going to use a fast attack and a fast release just to shave off any little peaks there. So let's start the threshold low and bring it up and just get a little bit of gain reduction to remove a couple of those peaks that are coming through. So you really don't need much, between 3 to 6 is already quite a bit. I don't need much more than that. The 2 to 1, that's really transparent. So what I'm going to do now is match up the output to kind of keep my signal at a good nominal level. So before, it's like we were just above negative 12 dB there, so let's go ahead and match that with this engaged. Pretty good. Okay, we're doing well so far. Let's go ahead and check this in context with the mix. That's the other thing I want to stress to you guys is when I mix these bass guitars, when I mix anything, I'm mixing in context with the mix because you want to see how the changes you make affect the sound of the overall mix and help the instrument sit in the mix. It's great if it sounds killer solo, but that doesn't mean it's going to work well with your mix. So make sure you're checking and you're mixing in context. So let's go ahead and check the bass with the guitars and the drums again, see how it's sounding. I have to monitor the volume. So it isn't really popping. It's a little weak in the bottom end here, and I still think that there's some things we can do to the mid-range too. So I'll go ahead and apply the next level of EQ. You'll see I have my cutting EQ, pre-compressor, I have compression, and here we're going to apply our boosting EQ, okay? So I wiped that clean, and now we're going to go ahead and bring back some of the bass there. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and start at around 100 hertz here. And you might be thinking, why not start lower? Well, I don't want to compete or mask the kick drum. The kick drum's sitting closer to that 56 range, 50, 56. And I'm going to let the kick drum kind of dominate that area of the frequency spectrum and keep the bass guitar sitting above that, okay? So that 100 hertz is going to be a great place. That sounds fine there to me. And I'm not really going to worry about boosting anything else up here. There's nothing up here I'm too concerned with right now. I'll take that back. Let's listen just to check. So yeah, I'm going to be satisfied with how that is for now, because what we're going to do next is add some harmonics, which I actually tend to use as an EQ itself. And this will add a little bit of grit to it, which can do a whole lot for how it sits in the mix and really can make things pop. So you can see I've kind of got the crossover frequency here on this particular plugin, which is great, the BX Saturator. I recommend it. You can also use, though, your stock plugin with your DAW if you're using Pro Tools. Avid's also got the enhancer. That works just the same as this. It's going to be fine. So I've got the crossover again around 190. Let's keep it actually around 180. And we'll start with the bass frequencies here. You can solo them and see what you're doing. So that's the frequency we're adding harmonics to, okay? And you can see when I add too much, it just gets gross. So you want to be relatively sparing with it. A little goes a long way. Conservative, rather, you want to be conservative with it. We can check out the highs here. You can get away with, on a distorted bass, adding a little bit more up here to give it a little bit more grind. And you can see earlier when I was mixing this, I had actually pulled out a little bit of the lower section here. So let's see that again. Okay, so it sounded pretty good. I'm going to leave that actually where it is. I actually boosted the lower frequencies slightly on the harmonic plug-in there, and we're actually going to add one more level of harmonics. And I could really do this with the other one, but not as well as I can with this plugin. And this plugin is phenomenal. It's called MaxxBass. It's another Waves plugin. It's about $50. Check it out. And what it does is adds some upper bass frequencies and some low mids to kind of expand, you know, the region where you're still getting that punch and body. So I'll show you what that does right here. Without and with. With it. And we can listen to what the MaxxBass is adding here. You can see it's adding, you know, the upper bass frequencies and low mids, and the low mid or the low bass, original bass right here is all that. And this is really great for getting your mix to translate well on some, you know, some crappier speakers or some drivers that may not be full range. So this is a great plugin. I love it on kick drums. I love it on bass. Anything where you really want to enhance it, it works great for. So we've got that. This is actually an automated EQ that I have for a certain section of the song, so we don't need to worry about that. And then lastly, I put on a limiter to really just tame any final peaks and to kind of maximize volume, because for this genre, you want that bass up front all the time, and limiting does a great job at it. So. See, it's not doing too much. We got another 3 to 5 dB coming off there at maximum on some of those peaks that are still coming through, and that's really going to keep it nice and consistent. So we can go ahead and listen back in context. I'll even throw in some vocals there and we can see. So again, that's just a quick run through, and this isn't the bass track I ended up using for the song. This is a quick demo one I put together to show you guys how it was going to kind of come together today. So let me go ahead and unmute the dirty vocals here, and you guys can have a listen, and hopefully it sounds as good to you guys as it does to me. And that's what we've got. So that's a good general approach and some fundamental techniques you can apply when you're mixing bass guitar, specifically for some heavier genres of music, metal, metalcore, hardcore, gent, whatever you want to be mixing. That's heavy. It's a good approach. It's not perfect, but those are just some of the techniques, you know, you guys should definitely try implementing and see what it does for your mixes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to be back next week with another video. Please subscribe. If you guys liked what you saw, because I hope to have, again, a lot more content for you. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll talk to you guys later. This is Derek Pearson checking out from Equinox Project Studio. Have a great week. Talk to you later.